We are live.
Yay!
Hey, welcome to the True Healing Journey Show. I'm your host, Richard.
And Don Contreras.
Thank you guys for welcome. Thank you guys for joining us. Let me stop. Let me hold on 1 second. There we go. So thank you guys for joining us. We are very grateful for joining us today here. Our guests, we are so pumped up and fired up for our guests today, guys. Before we get started, let us know where you're watching from. We'd love to know where our friends are tuning in from. Also, share this, invite your friends, tag your friends, and grab a piece of paper, grab a notepad. Get ready to write some notes because he's going to share a lot of value, guys, a lot of content here. He's going to share just from his heart and a lot of things that's happened and that he's been able to build and grow and establish what he's built. So guys, we are really excited. Thank you guys for joining us. Without further ado, Don, take it away.
Hello, Paul.
Hello, Don and Richard and everyone watching. Great to see you guys.
I'm excited that you got to come and bring your time, your precious time with us. Could you give us a little bit about your background and who you are and how you become who Paul Hutchins is today?
Yeah, for sure. And again, just thank you guys so much for the opportunity to be here today, and congratulations to you guys on your show. I've been watching as you guys have getting this. As you guys have been getting this kicked off, and you've been consistent with it, and just really excited to see where you guys are going with it. So honored to be here. Yeah. So for those of you who don't know me, my name is Paul Hutchins. I live in Southeast Idaho, born and raised here. Was raised in a single parent home. My mom raised my sister and I, and so that was a great experience. And let's see what else about me. I went to college. I did what everyone said to do: go to college if you want to be happy. So I went to college and got a business degree. And then I got out of school and started to try to find a job. Because I had a business degree, right? So everything's going to be happy, happy ever after. And I found a job that paid me $11.09 an hour working in a call center, which was not quite what I was expecting. Nonetheless, that's where I got started. So worked in a call center for quite a long time. Met my beautiful wife, Corrine. We've been married for 14 years now. 14 years and counting, happily married. We've got 4 little boys. They are 13, 11, 9, and 7. And I have been an entrepreneur in the home business space since 2009. So what is that, about 10 years?
Wow.
Yeah. So that's a little bit about me.
That's awesome.
Awesome. Thank you, Paul. Appreciate that. So can you tell us, what made you decide home-based business?
Yeah. Right? Like what made you decide that you wanted to be crazy?
Home-based business. That's a new ball game.
Right.
Yeah.
That's not the norm. That's not what we were taught. Go work for yourself.
Yeah, not only is that not what we're taught, a lot of times we're taught not to do that because it's kind of frowned upon by a lot of people, network marketing, direct sales, entrepreneurship. They say it's dangerous, go the traditional route, go the safe way. So yeah, so not only do they not teach us to do it, they, a lot of people teach us to stay away from it. So that's a really great question. And by the way, thank you guys for preparing such great questions. That they said, Don and Richard sent me this list of questions yesterday before the interview. And I thought that was so great because it shows that they're really putting a lot of time and forethought into these shows, and they want to do just really the best they can to get as much value to the audience as possible. So kudos to you guys for that. And it also gave me a little bit of time to think about some of these questions. So hopefully I can share what would be the most impactful, inspiring, and educational answers to some of these questions. So when I read that on the list, what inspired you to get in home-based business, I thought about something that happened to me early on in my job life. So I mentioned that I was working in a call center, making $11.09 an hour. my wife and I were actually living in a single wide trailer house at the time. But I was at this great company, starting at the bottom. I had hope that I could move up the ladder and that things would get better. I would show up to work early. I would stay late. I would work through lunch. And so I thought, you know what, this is really going to be a good path for me. And while I was working at this job, I started to notice something weird happening. And that was, this company had this program called the Management Trainee Program. And basically what it was where they would cherry pick these people from their favorite college that were not graduated yet, but they were just about to be graduated, or actually maybe they were graduated. Actually, they had just finished their degree, and they would bring these people in to what they called their management trainee program. Now, I had a degree, right? And then these people had a degree, but these people were coming from the favorite school, right? And so what would happen is they would bring these people in at starting salaries above what I was earning and at positions above where I was. So basically I'd been with the company for a couple of years, and people were getting placed above me just out of college. And I thought, I don't know if this is so cool. Like, what's up with this? And so, and then the other thing was, the people that were in the company didn't even have a chance to apply for the positions that were being given. So not only were people being placed above us, we didn't even have a shot, right? And so some of us started to connect with the management, and we said, hey, maybe you should let us at least apply for these positions. At least give us a shot. We're your employees. We're here working every day. We're committed. We're loyal. And so they agreed, and they said, okay, we'll give you guys a chance, to compete against these people coming out of school. And so I remember I applied for this position. I was competing against these management trainees, and I went in for my interview. And in the interview, I was sitting there with this high level, executive, the director of the department, who also happened to be a family member of the owner of the company. And he sat me down. He said, okay, Paul, let's get through this interview. Let's get through this interview. And he starts to ask me these questions. And I remember one question he asked me, and he said, what are some of your greatest strengths? And I remember responding, well, I think one of my greatest strengths is that I'm passionate. I'm passionate about the customers that I serve. I'm passionate about the people around me. I'm passionate about the company and, doing the best that I can to be the best that I can. And then, so we went on with the interview, and then we get done, and I'm sitting across from him, and he says, okay, Paul, he goes, here's the deal. He goes, first off, you don't get the job. And why didn't I get the job? I think part of it was that I didn't even really have a chance because they'd already picked someone out of this favorite school of theirs, right? So that was fine. But then he says this. He says, are you open to some feedback? And I said, yeah, I'm open to feedback. And he looks at me right in my eyes, and he points his finger at me, and he said, you don't have passion. And I was like, oh, wow. I said, okay. And then he goes, you want to see passion? He goes, stand up. So we stood up in the office. We walked over to the window, and he points to one of these management trainees, right? And he says, you see that guy? His name was Jared. Jared was his name. He goes, you see Jared? I said, yeah. He goes, he has passion. He goes, if you want to learn how to have passion, then you need to watch that guy, right? And I remember walking out of that interview just feeling so crushed and deflated, because not only did I not get the job, but he had to literally push me down and kick me while I was on the ground. And I just remember thinking, who is he to judge me? And who is he to say that I can only rise so high and no more? And so it was experiences like that kind of taught me early on. And I'm so grateful that this happened early on, that I realized that, a job is a good thing. And I was grateful for the job, and I was grateful for the income, and I was grateful for the experience. But I really quickly realized that it was not the path that I wanted to go. I did not want to spend my entire life having people point their finger in my face saying, you're not good enough. You can't make the money you want to make. You're not as good as all these people around you. And I could kind of see that that's what was going to happen in this path that I was on, the politicking, schmoozing with the right people, going to the right schools. That seemed to be the path to a better future, at least in the job that I was at. And I was like, no, I don't want that. So yeah, stuff like that.
Wow.
Wow.
That is a story.
Wow. What an experience, Paul.
I would have ran out and cried.
I kind of did on the inside.
Right. Right.
That really built
Absolutely.
your strengths
Yeah.
and what you really want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
good.
Guys. Wow, guys. I mean, if you're getting some, I mean, we just started and he's just already dropping
Woo.
some experience
Yeah.
right there. Guys, drop a 1 in there if you're getting some value already. Oh my gosh, guys. Wow, Paul, thank you for sharing that. So, I mean, that kind of goes right into this next question because I see, I mean, look at the beautiful microphone right there.
Yes.
He's got his beautiful background right there. I'm looking at that shirt you're wearing right there and it says Freedom Crusaders Alliance. I mean,
That's a name.
that is a powerful name. I mean, can you explain to our audience what Freedom Crusaders Alliance is? And I mean, we've experienced because how we met you. We've actually been following Paul for many years, and we were actually introduced to Paul through a morning show that Paul has had for many years.
Yes.
And
because of one book.
Because of one book, exactly.
That we fell in love with.
Absolutely. And just the dedication and commitment for Paul to just to start it. Just to start it, just to have the idea. I mean, just to have to be obedient for the idea, for him to, read this book and then come up with the idea. Paul, can you explain to us a little bit more about this book, this morning show, and the Freedom Alliance Crusade?
Yeah.
All in one.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah. Well, thanks for the opportunity to share. And also thank you guys for being such an important part of the community over the years. But yeah, I mean, it goes back to another story, which was after I had kind of decided that the corporate route was not the route that I wanted to go, I got into home business and joined a network marketing company, failed for my first year, joined another network marketing company, failed, joined another network marketing company, failed, joined another. And this happened like 14 times, right? So like, I'm literally like failing like crazy, thinking, what the heck is going on? And I'm still living in a trailer house, right? And there came a point in my journey where I asked my wife, I said, maybe we're failing because we've still got this darn job and it's taking up 8 hours a day. And maybe if we quit the job that we'd have success. So we had some savings because we were living in a trailer. And she said, I believe in you, honey, go ahead, quit the job. So we took a leap of faith. And what happened was when I quit my job, we were actually earning about $1,000 a month in my network marketing company. I was doing it all local, making lists and connecting with people. When I quit my job, my income actually went down from $1,000 a month. It went down to about $300 a month over the next 6 months. So I went from part-time to full-time and my income went down. And so I'm living in this trailer house. My income's down. I'm making $300 a month. Our savings are dwindling. And then to top it all off, one of my sons, my third son, Kyson, I still remember the day I was sitting in this office, trailer house office, brown panel walls, working on my laptop, trying to figure out how to generate leads and grow my business. And my wife took our son to his checkup at the doctor. His name is Kyson. My son's name is Kyson. And she came home. I heard the Suburban pull in the driveway. And then I get up from my computer, walk out in the living room, and she is crying. She has tears falling down her face. And I said, honey, what's wrong? And she said that Kyson had a head condition called craniosynostosis, which meant the bones in his head were prematurely fused together. And he was going to have a $50,000 surgery down at Primary Children's Hospital. And I remember she was scared. She was crying. So I'm the husband, I'm the provider, or at least trying to be the provider. So I grabbed her in my arms and I hugged her and I said, don't worry, honey, everything's going to be okay. But the truth was I didn't know because my plan wasn't working. Like I'd been throwing everything I had at this thing and it just wasn't working. And so that happened. So I'm in this trailer making like $300 a month, savings dwindling. And then one night I'm in the back room of this trailer house, putting my 2 oldest kids to bed, Caden and Camden. I'd read them their bedtime stories. They're laying in the bottom bunk of their bed. I watch them drift off to sleep. And I remember looking down at these kids, just having this heart-wrenching, gut-punching realization that I am literally failing them. I quit my job. I have hardly any money coming in. My plan is not working. My son has to have this surgery. And there are these 2 little angels sleeping on this bed, in this trailer house. They have no idea what's going on with dad. They have no idea what's going on with the family. They're just sleeping there. And I started to cry. And I did the only thing that I could think to do at the time was I knelt down right by their bed and I prayed. And I was like, God, if you're there, please throw me a lifeline. Help me here. I'm trying to do everything I can think to do, and it's just not working. Please help me with the miracle, so to speak. Right. And I remember right around that time, I got this distinct impression to begin a serious study of the book, Think and Grow Rich. And I'd read the book before. I mean, here at this point, I've been in network marketing like 5 years. So my first network marketing company had a recommended reading list, thank goodness. And, so that was on the list. And so I read it right when I got in network marketing. I read the book, right? But then what I did is I said, great book. And then I threw it on the shelf, and then I went on to the next book on the list, and then the next book on the list, and then the next book on the list, right? And for some reason, when I offered this prayer, I knew that I needed to study that book and apply it. It's like I recently watched The Matrix, and there's this great quote in The Matrix from Morpheus to Neo. And he said, Neo, there's a difference between knowing the path and walking the path. And so for whatever reason, I was inspired that I needed to know the path that was contained in that book, but then also live it out in my life. And so I started very seriously to study that book, highlight the passages in it, fold the pages down. I said, I'm humble. I'm going to do what it tells me to do. And one of the things the book tells to do, which of course you guys are very familiar with, is it says, write out your definite major purpose, and then memorize this self-confidence formula, and then read it every day, at least once a day. And so what I did is I did that. I wrote it out, I memorized it. And then every night outside my trailer house, I would walk up and down my driveway, and I would look at the stars, and this would be my prayer time. So I'd say a prayer, and then I would include this major definite purpose and self-confidence formula as a part of my nightly devotion, so to speak, outside beneath the stars. And what I noticed happened to me is that I went from a state, and it didn't happen instantly. It was like over a few weeks, a couple of months. I went from a state of hoping my business would work, praying my business would work, throwing Hail Marys, literally praying like, please God, make my business work, stuff like that. Like, will it work? I don't know. I hope it does. Like, that was my state of being through the first 5 years of my business. And with applying this exercise every day, what I noticed was that state was replaced with the state of faith, where now all of a sudden I knew that money that I wanted, that I was proclaiming. And at that time it was $3,000 a month, because that's all I need. That was my job income before I quit my job. And so if I had that $3,000 a month, I'd be free, and we'd still be living in a trailer, but hey, at least I'd have money to take care of my family. And I thought, man, if I could just do that, that's it. So that was my goal. And so I developed this state of faith where, like I said, I knew that the money that I wanted was already in existence. It was in other people's bank accounts. So it wasn't like I had to manufacture this money out of thin air. Like, it was there, right? It's there. There's money all around us, right? And so all I had to do was perform the service necessary to, bring that money from other people's bank accounts into my bank account. And so it just developed this really great faith that then I think spilled over into my conversations, my videos, my emails. When people connected with me, they felt that I was, I had substance, I believed in where I was going. I believed in the vehicles I was working with, and that transferred over. And then what happened was I had this experience where this $3,000 I was visualizing in my mind, half of it was coming from a network marketing income, and this company would send out checks. So I would visualize in my mind when I'd close my eyes, $1,500 from this network marketing income. And then I was also working with this system, which is like an educational tool type system. So I was imagining $1,500 coming from this tool type system. And so, and I would see these both in my mind, equaling the $3,000. And after several months of doing this, one day I got a check from the system for $1,500. And then I logged into my network marketing account, and I noticed the check that had been sent, which wasn't to my trailer house yet, was $1,498. And I was like, holy cow, that's pretty close to the 1,500. And then I got to looking, and it said there was a $2 check processing fee. So I was like, whoa, are you kidding me? Like the exact amount that I've been seeing in my mind. And so anyway, back to this call, you know, that was the question. Like, how did we start this call? Is like, I was feeling this magic happening in my life. And I wanted, you know, part of network marketing, of course, as you guys know, in direct sales is training the people around you so that we can all win. Right. And so I thought, man, if this stuff is helping me, maybe it can help my team, you know, and what they're doing. And what if we just all got on a call every day and we studied these ideas and we talked about them, and then we just did the best that we could to go out and apply them in our lives? I just thought that would be a great thing. And so I started doing it for my team. And then after a while, I started getting people from other teams, you know, hey, can we come to the call? Like, sure, why not? You know, so then so we make it generic and make it safe. You know, we don't promote anything really. No company specific stuff, because we want it to be a safe space. And then just over the years, it's just turned into a really great place for me and others to grow and be inspired and stay on the path to freedom. So anyway, yeah, that's why we started the call. So we've been going now for, I think, over 10 years, or about 10 years, every day, Monday through Friday.
Wow. And that's how the Freedom Crusaders Alliance became Freedom Crusaders?
Yeah. So, well, really good question. So the call, the idea for the call is that it's kind of like, it starts out with this assumption. It's like, okay, is financial freedom possible? Yes, I think it is.
Yes.
Then the next question is, are there principles that lead to building that in a person's life? And I would say, yes, I think that's true. There are principles, there are ideas that can lead to that. So what if we had a place where we could study those principles as far as we could know them, so that we could all apply them in our lives? And then, like, if we're missing something, that's the other part, is we've got the mastermind, where let's say we miss a principle, but someone else has it. Well, then they can come on and be like, hey, well, you know, this thing is the thing that really helped me. So anyway, so that was the call. And then as the call continued on, and as I continued in my journey, one of the things that I think we realize in the home business profession, if we're paying attention over time, and this is something I know that you guys are very well aware of in what you're doing, you know, community is really important. Not just the products, but building a community where people can feel connected with each other. People can feel like other people have their back, where relationships can be developed. You know, it's one of the great ways you can change your life, and that is to get around people who are lifting you and encouraging you and doing the things that you want to do. And community is also a really important part, not just for helping people, but also for keeping people around, keeping people in the game, like keeping people around the campfire, as they say. And so there are aspects to community building that are really important. Like, what is the vision? You know, like, what's the common vision we're all working towards? So with the call that you guys attend, and that I attend, our vision is freedom through principle-centered leadership. So that's our vision, right? And so you know, not that you have to adopt that as your vision, but if you're leading groups of people, it's really important that you have a vision, right? That you have something that you can rally around. It's like a flag, you know, it's like, here's my flag. This is where I'm going. Do you resonate with this? Let's go together. You know, like, that's the vision, right? And so in our community, that's our vision, freedom through principle-centered leadership. That's what we want to help people create. And then also in the same topic of building community, there are other things that you can do. For example, A lot of times in communities, you'll find that members of a community call themselves certain things, like people who are Christians call themselves Christians, right? Buddhists call themselves Buddhists, right? And that's kind of like an identifier within a community. And so within our community and in your community, whatever community you're in, viewer, whatever your community might happen to be, if you're in charge of creating a culture, it's really important to say, okay, what are we going to be called? Like, what are we going to call ourselves? ClickFunnels, you guys might be aware of ClickFunnels, a very famous funnel building platform and community. They are called funnel hackers, right? So you start to notice these things. And so you're like, okay, well, I want to build a community that helps people. So with our community, and getting back to the original question, I know that was like a long answer to a short question, right? But hopefully there's some value there. So in our community, Freedom Crusaders. So that's what we are. And, freedom, of course, comes from freedom is one of the fundamental human desires. We learned from Napoleon Hill. Most of us want freedom. So it's good for us to, and I wanted it, I wanted freedom, and many people who are on the entrepreneurial path, they want freedom. And then Crusaders comes from one of my mentors named Art Williams, who you guys might be familiar with. He started a company called A.L. Williams, did a lot of amazing things in the world. Like he competed against the biggest insurance giants in the world, and he was a high school football coach. Wow. And like they started this company where they were like teachers and firemen and, just ragtag everyday, people from your common walks of life. And they all united and they went out and they did something great. They did something great. They helped a lot of people. So he's always inspired me. And one of the things that I learned from him in one of his audios is he said, you've got to have a crusade. He said, don't just have a business. You got to have a crusade, something that you are, you're going to plant your flag in, you're going to fight for, no matter how hard it gets, no matter how long it takes. Like, what is a crusade worth fighting for? And I remember him, teaching that, and it just really inspired me. And it caused me to think, well, what is my crusade? And for me, it's freedom, like helping people build lives of freedom. I don't like the idea that that we have to be poor, that we have to, be limited by jobs or by society. I don't like I was raised poor. My mom, single parent mom. I remember seeing her at night, with the notepad on the table and the calculator out and just going over the bills. And she was working in a low-paying job. And I was a little kid, and I remember just seeing her with her head in her hands, all stressed out about money. And I don't like that. I want people to be free. So when I think about like, what is my crusade? It's like freedom. I want to create freedom for me. I want to create freedom for others. And this idea of being a crusader, I think, implies something that's very necessary to anyone on the freedom journey. And that is, it can't just be a hobby. Like you can make a little bit of extra money in the home business space, and there's nothing wrong with that. If that's what you want, make a little extra money, fine. That's wonderful. The home business profession can really help you do that. But if you want to build a life of freedom, like total financial freedom, it takes another level of commitment, like a seriously other level of commitment where you're a crusader, like you're like, this is it. I'm going to do it. I don't care how many times I get hit. I don't care how long it takes. I'm going to put in the work. I'm going to crusade for it. Like a crusade in my mind implies that you don't quit. Like you don't start on a crusade and then you're like, this is so important. Like this could be my life's work. And then you quit. Like, no, like freedom crusaders don't quit, And so anyway, that's where this comes from. And then the other concept here that I think is might be helpful for people who are working on attracting an audience and serving people that are outside of maybe their company or their personal brand, right, is, which we are, right? We want to serve as many people as we can. And so, I have a company that I co-founded, so we could have like put the name of that company here on our shirt. And that might work. That might be okay. Or the other option is to have a brand that's a little bit more neutral, so that people can feel like they don't have to be a part of Paul's company to be a part of Paul's world. right? And so that's why this brand it's like more in, I think it's inclusive, you know, it includes. So I like to think like this includes my customers, my affiliates, my distributors, and my prospects, because the prospects, they don't have to join or buy what I'm doing to plug into the value and be able to be taught and educated and inspired. So
Absolutely.
I hope that wasn't too long. I get excited about this stuff.
Wow, guys, if you got some value, man, that was
Well,
good.
another thing that you really inspire me, because I get to watch you on Facebook, is your kids, your family. I love that you're teaching your kids the values so young. I love the different posts that you put and what they say, and they're just on top of it so young. Can you share just a little bit of your experiences with your family?
Yeah, organizing your time.
Organizing
really.
your time.
Well,
he's
I mean,
he's
how do you organize? How do
with
you?
your family.
Right.
But wow.
I mean, family, business, faith.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, great question. And thank you for that, Don. I appreciate it. You know, my wife and my kids are really one of the biggest reasons I wanted to build a business from home. I wanted to, you know, be with my family, be with my kids. And so I think the specific question that you'd send over was, how do I organize my time around family, spirituality, business, and family, right? And so I was thinking about that. So like spirituality, and here's the thought on spirituality is, in my mind, spirituality is life. Like, it is life. So my business cannot be separated from my spirituality, in that how I do business is how my spirituality plays out in my life. How I do family is how my spirituality plays out in my family. How I do relationships is how my spirituality plays out in my relationships. So I like to think that spirituality is an umbrella that covers everything. That being said, I do have some things that I do, like morning routine with spirituality. You know, my definite major purpose is part of my spirituality, you know, proclaiming my vision. I have a gratitude practice that I do every day. I've been going now, I think, almost 20 days straight, where every morning, the very first thing that I do is I wake up and I make a list of 10 things I'm grateful for. And then I take a moment to think about each of those things and just express gratitude. To me, that's a part of spirituality and cultivating my mind, so that I can always be in recognition of the blessings that are all around me. You know, I was talking to a friend the other day, and the idea came up that what if gratitude is like a recognition of God's love all around you? Whereas if you're not grateful, you don't recognize how much you're loved by all the good things that are in our life already. And if we're grateful, it's like, wow, you know, like, I really am loved. I have life. I have vision. I have hearing. I've got health. I've got, you know, all these things. It's like this recognition. So to me, that's an important part of spirituality. And then with business, my business now is a little bit more flexible than it was, but I still try to put in a good work day. So what I'll usually do is work until 3:00. And then when 3:00 hits, I'm done. And then that's family time. And I usually do that Monday through Friday. So that's how I organize my business and family life.
Wow.
That's great.
That was awesome. Wow, thank you for that. Well, I'll go on with the next one. It says, what do you think is your greatest strength, Paul?
This is such a good question. And I was so confused on this as I was thinking about it. I think, can I have two strengths?
Absolutely.
You can have 10.
Yeah, that's right.
So two of my greatest strengths. The first one is persistence. I mentioned part of my story, like my first 12 months, I made no money. Then I ended up joining 14 other companies with really no success. Then my first income, where I made $3,000 a month that I talked about earlier, a few months after I hit that goal, the company changed the compensation plan and dropped my income by 2/3. And so then I joined another company, a nutrition company, built my first 6-figure income, and it was amazing. And then the company launched a sister company and confused everybody. And then that income went away. And so then my next company I joined had some great success, made a lot of money, got on the leadership council. And then the company started making decisions that were way out of alignment with our values. And so I had to walk away from that company. And then we started our own company, right? And so as I look back over my story, there were countless times where I could have made a really great argument for quitting and just getting out of the game. Like, oh, this keeps happening again. Oh, they keep doing this again. Oh, I could have quit, but I didn't. And part of that, I think, is because of what we learn on those books and on the mastermind that we do, where we learn that persistence it's 100% necessary to doing anything great in life. So that's first one. But then the second one that I think is unique and relevant to freedom is I have always valued freedom over what people think of me. And so this has played out. I'll give you some practical ways this has played out. When I started my business, my network marketing business in 2006 or so, I was driving a 2000 Honda Civic. That was my first car that I got a loan for, $9,000. Today, despite the fact that I've had a ton of success, made a ton of money, I still drive that same 2000 Honda Civic, right? My wife, when we first got married, we got her a 2001 Chevy Suburban. Today, she still drives that 2001 Chevy Suburban. When we first got married, we moved into a single wide trailer house. And we had people like, I remember one lady at church comes up to my wife. She says, "Are you guys okay?" And my wife's like, "Yeah, we're great." She's like, "Are you staying warm in that little trailer house?" Kind of like implying that we're suffering, and we were happy and we were warm and we had a nice place to live. But I bring those up because those decisions, I think, and then the value behind it of valuing your freedom above what other people might think. I think that is a necessary thing to be able to build a life of freedom. And that's, thankfully that's a value that I've had and has really helped us. So
That's amazing.
That comes to the next, that just rolls right into, how do you handle adversity or doubt? That went right into.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just almost answered it there.
No, I think that's a great question as well. And as I think back to the most adversity that I've experienced in my life, the first thing that always comes to mind, I remember there was this time in college where I had really gotten off on a wrong path. I was around the wrong people. I was doing the wrong things. I found myself, I don't talk about this a lot, but I found myself in the throes of addiction. And I was just really lost. And there was a time in my college apartment where I needed help that I couldn't provide myself. And I knelt down and I prayed to God to please help me get myself out of that situation. So there was that story. And then there's a story I told in our interview today where I was living in the trailer and family struggling, and I prayed and I got inspiration. So the first thing that comes up for me on how do I handle doubt and adversity, prayer has always been there in my darkest moments. It's always provided a light through the window for me to be able to, pick myself up and find and take myself into a better place. So that would be probably one of the biggest things. But then also another one is auto-suggestion. What are the words that I say to myself? Am I consciously speaking great words and great thoughts to myself, or am I allowing negative thoughts to come into my life and negative talk? And as you pay attention to people that you connect with, you'll hear what's going on inside coming out in the words that they speak. Are they speaking negatively about themselves? Are they speaking discouraging about themselves? And that's all kind of a result of what's going on inside. And one of the great lessons we learn in Think and Grow Rich is that we can control and shape and sculpt what goes on inside by taking charge of what we allow to come out of our mouths. And so, going back to that story that I shared when I was walking up and down my driveway, I was frustrated. I was discouraged. I was depressed. I did not know how I was going to make things work, but through assuming a position of power and proclaiming a vision and words of faith again and again and again, that had an effect of, kind of like shaping my character and my attitude. So that I think that would be the second thing, auto-suggestion. So prayer and auto-suggestion are two tools that have been really helpful.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That is really good, guys. So, wow. Guys, if you guys are getting value, you're getting inspiration, Paul, so humble. It's just, I'm soaking in just myself right now, Paul. So thank you so much. If you don't mind, I was going to leave a link down below how they can connect with you, how they can, learn more about your show, learn more about what you do. And so if you don't mind.
I don't want you to do that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah, thank you.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go right into the next question is, this is about financial literacy, Paul.
Yeah.
How did you learn about finances, and what age did it finally click? And did you learn it from like family, books, or were you first forced to learn it as your wealth grew?
That's a really good question. I love it. Thank you so much for the question. So church was one area where I learned a little bit. One of the things that my church taught a lot when I first got married and got active in the church that I go to is they taught, stay out of debt as much as possible. So that was kind of like and they taught things like, the borrower is slave to the lender. I think that comes from the Bible. So just little thoughts like that early on helped me to kind of see that, okay, maybe I don't want to have a lot of debt in my life. And that was like the first lesson from church. The second lesson was from my wife's family. My wife was raised in a very frugal family, and they have always paid cash for everything. They pay cash for their cars. They pay cash for their houses. And as such, when I got married, that was a great influence on me to think, okay, I don't want to have debt. And then B, if I want something, I can pay cash for it if I choose to. It might take a little bit longer. I might have to save up a little bit, but maybe that's a good thing. So my wife and her family influenced me in a great way. And then the third place that I learned about financial literacy, the very first network marketing company that I was a part of was actually a debt elimination company. And so we had this presentation that I memorized. I remember sitting in my trailer house in the bathroom, sitting on the toilet with the lid down, not going to the bathroom, just getting a little privacy back there, right? And this presentation, and at 5 o'clock in the morning before I go to my job, I'm memorizing this presentation. And this presentation was all about the problems that are created when we get into a lot of debt. And I remember one of the lessons that was in this presentation, it talked about financial institutions. And this part of the presentation said financial institutions operate a lot like a magician. And then it explained how a magician operates. This is magicians operate with distraction and manipulation. And it gave an example of pay no attention over here. And they'd hold their hand up here or watch my hand, right? Not pay no attention, but watch my hand. And they're like waving this handkerchief. So the attention of the audience goes to the handkerchief. And then while everyone's looking at the handkerchief, their other hand is down to the side or down behind their back. And they're performing the manipulation, which makes the trick possible. And this presentation said, see, financial institutions operate this way as well. They'll say, super low interest rate, no money down, easy payments, like super low interest rate. And so everyone's like, ooh, super low. Oh, that looks so attractive. Let me go get that 4% interest rate or that 8% interest rate or that no money down or that no payments for however long. And that's how people get into debt. And then I also remember this other thing from that presentation that was really, really pivotal on our journey is it talked about how it had this example of how like an interest rate on a mortgage, they say is, I think at the time it was 8%. So I say, that seems pretty low, right? And you're like, yeah, that's not too bad. But then what they did is they showed you an amortization schedule where they show all of the money that you would spend on principal and all of the money that you would spend on interest. And then the cost of the house that you thought it was, and then the cost of the house that you actually end up paying. And I remember seeing like $150,000 house ended up costing like $250,000 or $300,000. And I was like, holy cow, that's $150,000 or $200,000 that is literally being flushed down the toilet in interest. And then I started to think, wow, like how long does it take me to earn 150,000 or 200,000? Like, you know, I mean, it takes work, like, right? You guys have your business and your business you're building on the side. Like the money, I mean, yeah, we like to tell ourselves like money comes easy. And that's a good, I mean, I think that's a good affirmation, you know, like money comes easy to me. But truthfully, like money takes work and skill and effort. And so and then I realized that like, it takes my time. Like a lot of times money takes my time. Now, fortunately in our business, we can kind of learn to disconnect the time from the money, but for most people, it takes my time. So the 150 and the 200,000 in interest, I realized was equal to time that dad was going to have to be away from the kids. And so I said, I don't want that. You know, I don't want that. And so that inspired us to live in a trailer, save money, and then eventually pay cash because we'd been saving, you know, cash for our home. So, and then the fourth would be books, you know, Rich Dad, Poor Dad, really great series on financial literacy.
Yep. That was the last question. I know you love to read. So what would be your first three books? So we already got two.
Yeah. Think and Grow Rich, Rich Dad, Poor Dad. I will throw out a caveat with Rich Dad, Poor Dad. Robert Kiyosaki is a huge fan of good debt, what he calls good debt, where you utilize, you know, other people's money to grow your wealth. And I see the logic behind that. And I think, you know, for some people that can be a good path. We have not followed that path. We have, as much as possible, not gotten in debt. And so I love Rich Dad, Poor Dad, all the philosophy there. But we've kind of chosen that, you know, you can invest without debt if you learn to be frugal and save. And then you save money and then you buy investments as you have cash to buy investments. And, you know, some people say, well, that's impossible. You know, you can't do that. But we did, you know, we did it. I turned 40 this year. And we are debt-free, and we have investments that pay cash to cover our expenses. So my business could go away, but we still have investments coming from those, income coming from those investments. And we've used a little bit of debt here and there, you know, but then we pay it off. Like, you know, a few $1,000s here as we're, you know, building out a new development, we pay it off, right? So we're out of debt. And so I just throw that out as an example that you can build a life of freedom without using a lot of debt. And I've seen a lot of examples, real life examples, where people will, you know, read things like Robert Kiyosaki talks about, like, oh, good debt, you know, let's just go get a bunch of loans and buy a bunch of real estate. I've seen real life examples around me of how that has turned into a very, very bad, stressful situation. So if you're going to do that, just be super, super careful. And Robert teaches this. He says debt's like, should be treated like a loaded gun. Right. Very, very carefully. So anyway, just throw that out as a caveat to some of that. And then the last one is The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. Have you guys heard of that book?
Yes.
Oh, you have? Oh, dang. All right. I was going to try to share one that maybe a lot of people hadn't heard about.
Oh, I've heard about it, but probably from you, probably from yourself. Share it.
Let's share it.
Yeah. The Magic by Rhonda Byrne. It's just a book on, you know, how to practice gratitude and how to be more grateful. And one of the great things in that book is she talks about how, you know, years ago, people would say, you know, be grateful. And she'd say, oh, yeah, I'm grateful. Yeah, I'm grateful. But then she said she learned that she really wasn't. She was really just, you know, grateful on a very surface level. And it was when she started practicing, you know, real deep and rich gratitude that everything changed for her. And she went on to build a net worth of, I think, $60-some million or something, the movie The Secret. And she attributes a lot of that back to her gratitude practice. And so The Magic is a really great book for, you know, helping with that. So yeah, shared with me by one of my best friends, Brandon Falter. And he shared it with me over sushi one day. And I still remember that I was sitting across from him, and he was just like, Paul, He's like, the magic. And I'm like, what? I was like, what's the magic? He's like, you won't believe how this is changing my life. And I was like, wow, tell me about it. Right. And then while we were sitting there at lunch, he just started like holding up the food and the plate and the cup and the table and just pointing out like little random, objects. And he's like, this is all here for us. Like, look at this. It's here for us. And it was kind of a little weird, but it was also like, holy cow, like he is really grateful, and I could just sense this difference about him. And I was like, I want that. So I got the book and I'm working on that. And it's really added a lot of happiness to my life. So
That is so good.
That is so good. So, well, thank you, Paul. I mean, we are very, very grateful for you coming on the True Healing Journey show. Something that Dawn and I's vision is, like you said, we have a crusade and we have a vision, and we are grateful for you to come on and share your story, share take just your time, that you take away from your business, your family. We are very grateful for you guys. If you are getting some value, let Paul know with some hearts and love that he just blew it out of the waters for us. And like, thank you so much.
I just knew it. That's why I was so excited.
You guys are so kind. Thank you.
It's like, okay, we gotta be on our A game for this one.
Yes. Thank you, Paul. Yes, and you guys, I'll stick the links down below for you to be able to connect with Paul in the Think and Grow Rich show in the morning. You guys are gonna love it.
It truly opened our eyes.
It truly actually transformed our thinking, absolutely 100%. And then we're gonna go ahead and drop our links in there as far as we upload these videos up to our YouTube channel every week, and we'll drop our YouTube channel in there, and as well as follow us on Facebook, our True Healing Journey. But thank you, Paul. We are so grateful.
It's sweet.
What a way to start our day.
I know.
Likewise, I love hanging out with you guys.
Paul this morning. Now we did our interview, and now we can go on with our day. Paul will let you go on with your day. Thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you guys. Appreciate it. Keep doing what you're doing. You guys are awesome. By the way, I love your new profile pics and your banner on Facebook. If you guys watching this, go check out their profile and look at their pictures. They're so sharp and clear, and like they just radiate this good energy. I'm not kidding, right? Like that is really good marketing, especially for social media. So shout out to you guys on that. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Love and appreciate all you guys. Have an awesome day. And bye for now.
Thank you.
Thank you, Paul.